Watching Good Morning Kenya. This is The Viewpoint. My name is Mike. We shift gears and talk about matters to do with the brand of the country, positioning Kenya as for trade export trade. And in that conversation, I'm joined by Ms. Floyce Mokabana, who is the CEO of Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Yes, it's always a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, karibu sana. When we talk about brand of the country, really, what are we talking about?
So the brand of the country speaks to how the country is perceived in the international space. But when you look at it from a professional perspective, you want to be able to brand the country with an objective, a commercial objective, which is to ensure that the country is perceived as a destination of choice for trade, tourism, investment, and culture. So that is what a brand is. Then let's go and narrow down to how the Kenyan brand is viewed in the international and the positioning that we have taken in the international space. So you find that the Kenyan brand is viewed as a brand that has got a high number of highly educated, entrepreneurial, young, innovative population, and that as well, that it is a position where we are able to have iconic products for export, our tea, our coffee, our nuts, our flowers. They're iconic in the sense that we consider them to be, on a comparative basis, much better than what is offered out to the world. We are also positioning from the scenic safaris that we have, the uniqueness that is Kenya, that we can be able to use to tell the story. So other than the safaris and the big five, we also have a unique story in our athletes. So that's part of our brand positioning. And the issue is, once you pick the various touch points of the brand, because it speaks to the people, the products, the culture, the iconic statements, you weave a narrative that allows us to then position it as a country of choice. And how are we doing it? We are saying that the Kenyan brand offers, especially to the international investors, a logistical hub for them to be able to venture into the rest of Africa and East Africa through the various integration agreements that you have, the East African Community, and most recently the AFCFTA. We are talking about the hub being, Kenya being a hub for both financial services and as well as a logistic hub to the rest of the East African nations, Sudan, the landlocked ones, Sudan, Rwanda. We are talking about Kenya having a source of good quality products. If you're looking to buy coffee, tea, flowers, nuts, we are saying our products are premium. And actually, as part of that branding process, we have what we call our Made in Kenya mark, where we try to position Kenyan products as good quality and good quality and authentic brands. And we do that by ensuring and associating it with Kenya through the use of the Made in Kenya mark. So we request for manufacturers and producers of the same to be able to take up the mark, and after ascertaining three things. You are certain that the product is, the raw materials are Kenyan, the labor force used to prepare the materials are predominantly Kenyan, and the ownership is Kenyan, and as well that the products of high quality. So that means it has to have gone through a certification process of their own. And then using that mark, we're able to then identify the product as Kenyan. And when we are branding the country as a source of the best flowers or best flowers, best coffee, best tea, then you can use that mark to be able to position your products. So what are we saying in a nutshell? That the Kenyan brand can be used, and we are positioning, especially in the international space, to be seen as a springboard because of the various integration agreements that you've gone through to Africa and East Africa generally, because of how we've been able to give advantages to whichever investor is coming to set up in Kenya, and to be able to use that as a stepping stone to now move into exports into the international space.
So actually what you mentioned about AFCFTA and the integration of East African Community makes Kenya a very strategic gateway to the African market.
Yes, and that is one of the branding positioning that we were trying to work with when we were talking to Kenya as a brand. The logistic hub that allows you to do that. The labor force that will allow you to actually develop the products that you want to be able to share. The fact that in a country where the world is very concerned about climate change, that you're able to use renewable energy at 90%. The fact that you are able to have a financial hub that does not have constraints about capital outflows and inflows after investment. And even the fact that you have a robust legal framework that allows you to be able to follow through with investment activities that follow through in terms of formation, in terms of conflict resolution. It positions it as a country that an investment country that allows you to bring in your investment here, do your products for exports, and then use the various trade agreements that you have to ensure that you see your market bigger than Kenya, bigger than East Africa and Africa.
Yes. You know, Kenya is also known for tourism, and it's there's also the Kenya Tourism Board.
Yes.
So how do you work with them and other stakeholders to make sure that the brand of the country comes out as unified?
So that is very true, because the nation brand has to be seen. There are various facets to the nation brand. There are various touch points. So there's a touch point when it comes to trade, there's a touch point when it comes to investment, there's indeed a touch point when it comes to culture and tourism. So then how do you work? The way the Kenyan system is set in terms of the brand, there are people who managing the various touch points that are done, and as you mentioned, KTB is one of them. And they have an amazing magical Kenya brand. But the Kenyan, the role that KEPROBA plays and how it is envisioned in the legal notice that created us is to create a coordinated effort. Coordinated in the sense that the positioning that you have for your tourism brand should speak to what to what the investment brand is speaking, to what the trade brand is speaking, to what the sports brand is speaking. So you're talking about a unified a whole of government approach in managing the brand. And that is why, for example, when you're looking at from an international perspective, the brands, Kenya will be seen as a single brand. The compartmentalizations are for us to be able to manage it, but they will look at it as a single brand. And you'll find that when now you have an opportunity to be able to showcase the whole of Kenya, all those brands need to be able to speak to each other and say the same thing. And we have an opportunity when you look at the Japan Osaka 2025 expo that we are currently running. And that is an expo that is taking place between April 13th to October 13th. And there are 161 countries showcasing around the world. On a daily basis, they're expecting visitors of around 150 million. And for the 6 months, they're actually expecting 28.5 million visitors to come to, around it. But what is most importantly is that the international place and platform that it creates, because of the 28 million visitors, at least 5 million or thereabouts are considered to be foreigners. And they're coming to see what each country is able to offer. So again, when we are showcasing as Kenya, we cannot go under a single brand. We have to have a unified and coordinated effort, and which is exactly what we are doing as Kenya. KEPROBA just takes the role of a responsible national agency, but it has a duty to coordinate with all the other brand touch points to ensure that Kenya is properly represented. So that even when you're looking about the Expo, Japan 2025, the objectives for us to participate is to actually have a link to the various touch points that we are talking about, especially from an economic and commercial perspective. So there are a few things we have done. For the 6 months, that will be showcasing the very best of Kenyan products. We also have a sample bar. Allows the visitors to interact with Kenyan cultural music. we have been able to also share and work with various stakeholders to showcase investment opportunities around. And as well as tourism experiences, we've been able to curate tourism experiences that visitors can be able to engage with. And the objective of this is just to give them a glimpse of what Kenya is about. And that will run for the 6 months going forward. From there on, as we're getting visitors to the pavilion, we are seeking to get from them a change in perception of how they see Kenya by with how the touch points that they have with the brand. And there are that engagement will create a conversion by seeing whether we've been able to communicate to them the need for them to invest, to trade, and to visit Kenya. And we do follow-ups after that, so that then it can make sense. And that will run in the 6 months. But within those 6 months, there is going to be activities that relate, we call the Kenya Week, that now we want to be able to use that period in those 6 months to focus on what Kenya can offer. What is it? And we have then planned a week-long activities associated with Osaka. And we begin on 21st of June, which is like a week or two from now. And we begin with a diaspora dinner. You remember one of the touch points we said about the Kenyan brand is the fact that we have a highly educated entrepreneurial group. And in Japan, it's no exception. We have Kenyans who have done extremely well. So we want to use that opportunity to be able to just have a meeting with them, use that to first of all fit them, because we have got quite a number of distinguished Kenyans doing big businesses in Japan, holding regional offices in Japan, and we want to use that to fit them. But most importantly, to align them to the very unique position they find themselves in, that they have created a home away from Kenya, and therefore they know what it means to be in Japan, but also because of their roots, they're able to understand what Kenya has to offer. That presents a nice nexus for them to be brand ambassadors for us in all the areas that all the touch points that we're talking about, investment, trade, tourism. And that is one of the things we want to be able to align them with during that diaspora dinner, and also come up with a working framework in which that is possible for them. That will be on Saturday, 21st. On 22nd, another touch point we have is from Kenyans. We all know it's athletics. Kenyans, we are known as the best athletes. And surprisingly, Japan is a running nation. They love to run. And so we want to be able to use that as a soft diplomacy to let them interact with the athletes. So we are doing a Run with the Champions marathon on Sunday. So we have Kenyan athletes from here who will be interacting with the Japanese runners, and thereafter scheduled a few interactions with the various Japanese schools where the athletes can also engage with the students. And the beauty about it is that we're already now showing soft power. We're trying to see what everybody sees Kenya for, and using it to leverage what the next steps that can arise if it's going to, in terms of trade investment and tourism. That is on the 22nd. On the 23rd, we have a high-level business forum. And the objective of that high-level business forum is to allow Kenyan businessmen to be able to interact with the Japanese businessmen on the other side. And how have we done it? We have actually recruited 60 big private sector businesses that are going to take their products and their business profiles to Japan. We are trying to create market linkages, trying to match them with the sectors that are on the Japan business on the other side. And we are hoping that once that networking is done, there'll be an issue of getting from their information that can be able to further their partnerships going forward. Mike, you'll appreciate that international trade will always be about information asymmetry. Somebody has something you need on the other side, but you do not know. So the level of trying to bridge that information asymmetry through the use of business to is a very apt way to address information asymmetry, because we realize at that point you will get leads and then sales. And that is what you're going to do on 23rd. On 24th, really this is going to be, it's called the Kenya National Day of Honor, and this is a courtesy that the Japan embassy, the Japan government is giving to Kenya as a way of appreciation of all the work that they have done to be able to ensure that they are participated into the Expo 2025. It will be an exchange of culture has done and a focus on Kenya. During that period, we also want to do a flower activation, because as I mentioned, we have iconic products, and flowers is one of them. And we want to be able to do an activation around flowers so that then again, they will also consider flowers as one of the iconic products and create a market for the same. So those are the activities that we've planned for the specific week that we are going for in Japan, Osaka 2025, and then follow through with the the exhibition that is going on. And then in the months to follow, we are going to be narrowing down on thematic areas that we want to be able to showcase. So if it's going to be about education or health or investment, infrastructural investment, private-public partnerships, will now be focusing on the various months until October 13th to ensure that the story of Kenya and the brand of Kenya continues to be current and for people to be able to appreciate the various facets that the Kenyan brand has to offer.
Yes. You said something about changing perception, and Kenya has been participating in expos since for a very long time. Have we been able to change perception and make the Kenyan brand, the Kenyan identity, be known as a trade export destination?
I want to then, that's a very good question, and I want to narrow down with the last expo we did. So we did in, there was Dubai 2020 that we did in 2022, and we were able to showcase the best of Kenya with an objective as well, and a commercial objective. And what we saw and what we realized during that expo is that because of that interaction, there were milestones that were created. Number one, we noticed that Kenyans were able to make spot sales, and during that whole period, they were able to make sales. We were able to document at least 30 million that Kenyans were able to sell as spot sales. But most importantly, there were contracts that were generated. And those that we were able to document were up to the tune of 582 million. But for me, what is interesting is the trend that comes from there. Because we realized, even after we left, there is a trend when you're looking at the relationship of trade relationship between Kenya and not only UAE, but the whole of the Gulf countries, the Gulf countries. We noticed that there was a growth of almost 70%, from 50 Kenya shillings 50 billion in 2022 to 85 million by...
That's in terms of exports? In
terms of exports, by 2024. But what was interesting is that while that segment, that market was growing at 70%, the rest of the Kenyan export growth was growing at 35%. So that means then the efforts that we put in Dubai has been able to elevate the products that are coming from Kenya so that they are not growing in tandem with the rest. But the other thing we also noticed is that there was an increase in tourism flow from Dubai. So that we are seeing an increase of around 15% from that space. And that actually aligns with the objectives that we had done. And importantly, as part of also trying to create a relationship and lasting sustainable relationships, the Expo Dubai created a platform for the negotiation of the economic SEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with UAE, which was just finalized but going through the ratification process. So we realized that there are benefits to the Expo beyond the time that the Expo is running.
Yes, and also when we are talking about these exhibitions, they are small-scale traders and entrepreneurs who would want to get these market linkages now. In terms of looking at the expo ecosystem, how do you rope in those small-scale traders and entrepreneurs?
But I think that's a very important point, and we actually encourage it for the simple reason that it is quite one thing to be able to be told about a market, but going to the market and being able to experience for yourself what needs to be done plays a totally different ballgame. So especially even in this expo, aside from the expo, because you realize that at the end of the day, the market access becomes an important issue. We have organized to have exhibitions away from the expo site to be able to encourage Kenyan exporters to be able to join, go for, to exhibit their wares and sell them. So we have come up with, in partnership with the mayor of Osaka to give us some space. So we have one space in an area called Kuzomo, where we have 20 exhibitors that will be taking to be able to sell their tea, their coffee, the leather and leather products. We also have textiles and apparels, so that they can just be able to appreciate and have an opportunity. So we will be sending exhibitors to be able to experience the market in Japan, and we'll follow through. And that's why even with the other one, you notice there was a segment of sports sales that we're able to document. So we are actually going to follow through. And the objective is for us even to get learnings on how it is to be able to go into the market and what learnings are you getting, and from those learnings about the consumer taste, consumer preferences, the regulatory environment towards selling in Japan, and as well as the standards that are required. Once we get that feedback, how are you able to then use that feedback to improve your product for the export market? And also now to position yourself differently.
Yes. Let's take a short break. We continue with this conversation in just a bit. Stay with us.
Ashamed of yourself. Huu ni mtoto wako hapa and she needs his help. Na kazi yako ni kurushia watu midomo without doing anything.
What you want, Pete?
See you and to know how you're doing.
Don't think that I am a moron or an imbecile. In short, I'm not schizophrenic.
Sasa unaongea vitu gani? Hata sielewi unasema nini.
Utasimama hapo mpaka saa ngapi?
Jen, kindly, I would like to serve breakfast.
Hii kitu yangu imejaa mambo mengi sana. Nataka unipe nafasi nitulie. Sawa?
Kenya's future is taking shape. Introducing the 2025-2026 National Budget. A budget built on priorities and focused on what matters most. Empowering agriculture for food security and prosperity. Supercharging digital infrastructure for innovation and opportunity. Building affordable homes, creating jobs and transforming lives. And ensuring quality healthcare for all. So, how much will it all cost? Well, a proposed budget of 4.2 trillion is on the table. Get the full picture, understand the numbers, and see the impact. The 2025-2026 budget on KBC Channel 1.
Today we'll be talking about overcoming temptation, living in a world of sin. There are many challenges, temptations that come our way.
God anakupenda tu venye uko. Just the way you are. So you don't need to do anything for God to love you more, and you don't need to do anything less for God to love you less.
If you are in Christ, you can be in the world, but whatever is in the world will not get into you.
This is the viewpoint right here on Good Morning Kenya. You know, Kenya positions or pivots on its uniqueness in terms of things that contribute to its brand. We're talking about culture, athletics, agriculture and everything. But also, Madam, so far from the expos that we have participated in as a country, what would you say so far have been the products that have gained traction?
The thought that comes to mind, especially for me, is the flower, the growth of flowers directly exported from Kenya as a result of the expo that we did in Japan and the flower activation. So that it was a no-brainer that we also needed to do a flower activation in Japan because of the response that we got.
Yes.
So we are getting direct, before, and if you look at the horticultural space, the wholesale, most flowers are bought from Amsterdam. Yes. So that even Kenyans sell their flowers, take their flowers to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam they are to the rest of the world. But now we are seeing people engaging Kenyan flower exporters directly without reference to Amsterdam because of the information and the exposure that they got through the Dubai, Expo Dubai, and the flower activation we did around it. So that would be one of the products that I see. But the other, again, in Dubai, and as well as is the case in Japan, we were doing sampling for coffee. And the lines continue, for Kenyan coffee, continue going quite some distance as we try and see, as people try to appreciate the Kenyan coffee that we are offering at the expo. That is one of the things that we're going to do at the exhibition. We are offering sampling for Kenyan tea and coffee. And when people are engaging with it, we're getting quite good reviews. And as a result of that, we have now been had to engage. The queries that you get is to engage with Kenyan importers of Kenyan coffee to be able to sell those coffees for us there in Kenya.
In all this, it all points to one thing, really, value addition to leverage the export market. There's that important. So how do you reach out to county governments to ensure that even as you make ways for the export trade, that the person at the grassroots level can benefit from this?
You know, you raise so many pertinent issues in that question that you have talked about. First of all, you've talked about the issue of value addition and what value addition means to Kenyan products. And just allow me to take some few minutes to talk about that. Because you realize Kenyan products are usually sold, especially the main ones, because they're agricultural, they're being sold in bulk, they are being sold unbranded. And as we mentioned, they remain an important part of the brand because of the quality that they sell, and they are considered premium. But if you were to sell them to the international market in the bulk form that they are sold, unbranded as they are, that premium does not fall in as an export value into our country. It goes to those who buy in bulk and are able to value add on them, and then be able to position them as Kenyan products. So that is one of the interventions then we want to be able to push, that even as we sell our iconic products, we want to sell them on a value-added basis. And that is why the government is making deliberate efforts to ensure that it is now possible for you to do products. A case in point is the use of county aggregated industrial parks, so that which are done in conjunction with the national government, in conjunction with the county government, where we are creating a space and a place for people to have an opportunity to value add, to having to rush them bulk to We also have opportunities where we are setting up special economic zones to allow for common manufacturing facilities to be done, so that again, Kenyans to value add before they export. An nexus that you create. The fact that county governments are an important stakeholder in this process.
Yes.
And they're important for the reason that, number one, not only is it that the agriculture is a devolved function, but product at the county, which is an exportable product. So you have to be able to manage it from that perspective. Governments. We ensure that with county governments having the role of agricultural production, we work with them to capacity build in terms to capacity build their exporters in terms of giving them information. So we do various capacity building, but most importantly also do outreach together with the county governments. We go and visit the exporters on the ground and we engage them on how they have any pain points, do they require any support from us. As a result thereof, we also work with a directorate in Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency called Trade Advisory Services that engages with the exporters on a one-on-one whenever they require issues to be addressed when it comes to export inquiries. We also, as the body that is mandated to promote exports from Kenya, once in a while we'll get inquiries from international buyers seeking iconic Kenyan products, which then we use to link with the database of exporters that we have. And as a result, you'll find that we work with the county government in a manner that aligns with the fact that exports remain are a product of the county, and they remain an iconic brand. When it comes to appreciating that the Kenyan brand, when it comes to trade, is really based on agricultural produce. Yes.
There's also, Kenya is known as Silicon Savannah, and this is one of the non-traditional that we have, even in. How have we leveraged that as a country of access to international markets?
So that is one of the branding that Kenya has, as a Silicon Savannah, having been the premier home for M-Pesa. And it becomes very important for us to also look at non-traditional products and services as an export to the world. And in that regard, we work to ensure that that brand touch point of seeing Kenya as a Silicon Savannah is not lost by creating narrative around it, showcasing our innovative techpreneurs as a space and awarding them, and then giving them linkages, market linkages to the international world in where it is they can be able to place their products. As we talk about the tech space, what comes to mind is that even we have various organizations, international organizations, that come and try and partner to get these products out of the country. A case in point is the import desk from Germany that has been working with techpreneurs, trying to see whether they can be able to obtain services, ICT services for use in the German market, with the recognition that Kenya is a country that you'll be able to get such products because of the positioning that Silicon Savannah has in the global space.
Let's say I want to export, and let's say avocados or anything, flowers, and I'm at the grassroots level. But I've heard about Kenya Export and Branding, Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency today. How do I ensure that I can engage you to help me get into this export space?
But that's a very good question, because we're here to serve the Kenyan people. And as I mentioned, the major barrier, as you're dealing with export trade, what you're looking for is to break the information asymmetry.
Yes.
So the first thing that KEPROBA will give you is information. And how do you do that? So obviously there's going to be the bid for us to be able to contact us. And we have various ways in which you can do that. We have our email and our website, www.makeitkenya.go.ke. As well as you can call us. You can be able to call us on our dedicated lines. I think we have one number that I can be able to share of is 0722-205-875. Once you call us, you give us your request that this is what I have an interest in exporting flowers. And this is how. So there are some preliminaries we want to find out. What is your supply capacity? Because international space is not for small. They require a huge demand for it.
What is the minimum, for instance?
So there isn't really a minimum, but what you will find, especially when you get an international trade, is that they will be requiring repeat. So they'll give you a contract. It won't be one sale.
Yes.
They can give you a contract for a year and expect you, for example, to be able to service 1 container a week or 1 container a month. So supply becomes an important issue. And again, that is why the county aggregated industrial parks become a game changer, because if all of you are doing small quantities, you can be able to aggregate at the county aggregated program, so that you can then be able to sell. So that's number one.
Yes.
And then after that, once we are certain of your supply capacity, we can then take you through export procedures. And in the minimum, export procedures in Kenya will require to, especially because you're dealing with agricultural products, to get an export license from the Agricultural Food Authority. It will require for you to have phytosanitary certification from KEFIS. And then after that, there's also the need for you to just understand what international trade is about. And that's where our capacity building niche is built. Because you have to learn how to be able to negotiate, you have to learn how to be able to price your products. Are you pricing them ex-duty, CIF, are you pricing it CIF, are you pricing it ex-works, and the implications of the pricing that you do. And what risks are you transferring, what risks are you keeping to yourself, and what risks are you transferring? Then there's the logistical chain that you also have to learn about. Who's going to do for you the transportation, and what is it that they owe you, and what is it that you have to give in exchange. So there's a whole export readiness awareness academy around that. But having said that, you can see that it can be overwhelming. So as an agency, there are few instances in which we are trying to see how we can bridge that, especially for a first-time exporter. So of late, we have come up with an initiative with various stakeholders being spearheaded by Real Sources Africa called Trade Connect Services. That Trade Connect Services, as it is currently constituted, is focusing on the African market. So we are trying to see whether we can be able to amalgamate all those things that you have to do, so that all you have to tell us is that this is a product that I have to sell. How can you take it to me to the market? Yes. And then they work to ensure that you're able to get all the services that are needed to get it to that market. And in some instances, especially for manufactured goods, Africa Connect Trade Connect is able to do for you the last mile distribution. Yes.
All right. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm told we are out of time, but I want you to give your last submissions.
Thank you very much. So for us, for me, I would like to let all Kenyans appreciate that the Kenyan brand is really a touch point for all Kenyans. They all participate, and I'm glad when I see you with your bracelet, because I can see you have a sense of pride in our country. Yes. And that is the first step. And number two, as well, what I'd like to say with regards to, especially the mandate of Kenya Export Promotion, is to remember to always brand Kenyan export Kenyan, and in the process build Kenya.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for making time to come and talk about matters to do with positioning Kenya for export trade.
Yes.
Asante sana. That is Madam Flois Mukabala, who is the CEO of Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, joining us here on The Viewpoint.